Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, Tammy. And good morning to our amazing guest, Amy Todiscoesico. I hope I'm saying it right.
Perfectly. Yes.
You are. And Amy is all the way from Vermont today. So as you can see, she lives on a farm and she's all about green. And I'm going to let Amy introduce herself a little bit more. We have so many things in common, and she definitely is an inspiration for unlocking freedom in nature. And of course, and art. If you look at behind her, look at her the cute little barn. I love it. So Amy, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I do live on a farm in Vermont, a certified organic farm where we produce vegetables and fruits. And I help run the farm, but I mostly have done a lot of the educational aspects. So that would be tours, programs, workshops, that kind of thing. I've also been in the green living world for over 30 years. It's really kind of been a lifetime passion for me. Growing up with a really healthy, or a mom who was really interested in nutrition and health, a stepfather who was a chef. I got an introduction to really good food early. And then one of my first jobs was as a working in a health food store at 16. So I'll tell you that journey a little bit later. But
Wow.
so one of my main focuses is basically helping people learn how to live a non-toxic, earth-friendly, healthier life.
Awesome. Those tours actually sound interesting as well.
They've been a lot of fun. We actually got featured on HGTV for a couple, I guess it was 2 or so seasons ago.
Oh, wow. So
very
that's fun. Now, you also mentioned the fact that Oprah.
Oh, yes, the Oprah
How did that
moment.
happen?
So that was back in my green living. So I had a very interesting journey of starting with helping people understand what toxins and household products were all about, in my community when I used to live in Massachusetts prior to here. And so then I became a consultant, and I had a website called Green Living Now, where I actually sold products that I had already, researched and tried out myself. And so I was doing a lot of education and writing a monthly newsletter, and had the opportunity to be the technical editor for the Green Living for Dummies book.
Okay.
And so somewhere, and actually also, I think I was probably number 1 or 2 on Google if you search for green living expert back in those days. So somehow through all of that, I got a call from one of Oprah's producers, and she wanted to come visit me at my house in Vermont and interview me about my green living lifestyle. And I was floored. And I was also not at all ready for that kind of notoriety. I didn't have systems set up. I wrote a once a month newsletter, and I had some products that I sold on the website. And then at the last minute, she decided to go with a nonprofit instead of me. But I want to be on her Super Soul Sunday conversation, or even maybe better would be on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Well, that was close. So awesome.
It was so close.
Amy, I want to ask you a question. What
Sure.
do you think, as you're called the green living expert, what would be the main thing that stops people from this lifestyle?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's a multitude of things, and I've actually been trying to gather that information from people, so I'm not just guessing. I think part of it is a cost factor that, typically these products at least are perceived to be more expensive because, let's take food, for example. Certified organic food we see is definitely more expensive at the store than conventional. And part of the reason that that is the case is because the conventional growers get all kinds of government subsidies. To grow organic food is very expensive because you're paying for a ton of labor. Instead of, spraying a can of weed killer, you have to pick all those weeds multiple times yourselves. So I think cost is one thing. I think I think it's partly that people have a hard time accepting that what they've been doing actually could be harmful. And I'm the type of person, when I found out that there were all these toxic chemicals, let's say in household products, because I already kind of knew about the food piece, I had to think, oh my gosh, I've been using this stuff for all these years and didn't know it. So that is a little bit of a hard acknowledgement. And in my case, I just tossed everything out and started over. But not everybody is sort of a, go big or go home type of person. So I think that's one thing. And also just, if you've grown up with eating a certain way and using certain products and you believe that, they do the best job of cleaning and you don't really want to look into, what is this stuff potentially doing to me health wise, or how is this impacting my children or my pets in the home, or, on the bigger scale, sort of, environmental issues. For some people, it's easier to not know. So I think that's part of it.
So cost, and then do you think ignorance, like lack of knowledge or awareness, or like
Lack of
not
desire.
not wanting to know? Yeah.
Yes, because
Face reality.
I've heard some people will say, oh, well, everything causes cancer, so why bother? I just want to live my life, or they're too busy, maybe they're too busy just trying to survive. And then to have to take the time to learn this information and then deal with that once you've learned it, because you can't unlearn it, right? I think that makes it
Well,
hard.
and the other thing I noticed, because I have a huge garden too and do the organic gardening, and it takes, more time than people realize, even though we enjoy it. And I know exactly where all my vegetables and everything come from. But because there are sprays and stuff that are organic and you have to spray them more than normal. But I've had people say, oh, can I help you with your garden? And I'm like, sure. If you want to help me, you can come on over, weed, water, whatever, help pick. But what I find, it's kind of like the little red hen story. They want you to do all the soil. They want you to plant the seed. They want you to grow, raise it, water it, and take care of it. And then they don't even want to come pick it, even when you offer it for free.
Oh my goodness.
And then they want you just to hand it to them. Like, here's the zucchini, or it's like, or if you're making zucchini relish, which I do. Oh, can we just have jars of your relish?
Wow.
They don't. It's amazing how people, I think it's because they're so busy or they get so used to buying stuff. But when somebody offers it for free, you would think they would be there.
Right.
I mean, not everybody's like that, because, I have, of course, other friends that have came in and watered, and I was like, oh, here, have some dill, have this or what, or people have called and say, hey, I know you're probably the only one that has this. I'll purchase it from you. And it's like, okay, that's fine, because then they're paying for the seed and the time it took,
Right.
But it amazes me how many times I have offered stuff, veggies, and because we have an abundance, and people won't show up. It's like,
really?
yeah. And it's like, okay, well,
I'm surprised.
it is, but yet at the same time, it's kind of like when you go to sell art, or I'll share this little story. It was about a jewelry box that I had painted, and I was selling it for like $25, and nobody would. And this was in a gallery. It was at 50, marked it to half, 25. This was like years ago. And I took that same box 3 months later, marked it to $350, and sold it that day.
So isn't that fascinating? Because before you said that, I was thinking perceived value. And especially when we give something for free, people don't value it. I've noticed that time and time again.
Tammy, I was thinking that maybe you should start like a little community effort and come up with your own little stipulations and rules or whatever, and maybe more approaching the children and youth, because maybe they have more disposition and understanding, and they're the generation. I mean, we all need to learn this, of course, but they just think these things grow in the supermarket, not even grow in the supermarket. They just pop up there somehow miraculously.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how many people have never seen what potatoes grow like. I'm sure you've seen this, Amy.
Yes.
Those little things that we take for granted because we grew up around them.
Well, and I didn't actually. I grew up in New York City, so I started gardening as soon as I got out of the city. But yeah, I mean, I remember actually when my daughter was little, and I took her to a farmer's helpers program. I think it was a 6-week, once a week, and it was at an Audubon farm. This was before I moved to Vermont, and I was living in Massachusetts. And I was really surprised to see how the kids at first didn't understand that milk came from cows. And they were shocked to see milk coming out of a cow. And then, oh, that milk gets turned into cheese, or, you drink the milk, or it's butter. And so, and sadly, I don't think it's just the kids that don't necessarily make these associations, right? It's like, if you've been buying things from a supermarket your whole life and you don't really think about where all that stuff is coming from, you know, maybe you don't care so much, but once you start to investigate it and then, you know, go to a farm and experience it yourself, like I can't tell you how many people, when they eat something off the vine here, you know, let's say we'll pick a green bean or they'll eat a piece of kale and they'll say, oh, I really don't like kale. And then they'll try it. Oh, this is actually pretty good. Or boy, this food just feels like it's alive. You know, it's so different than what's in the supermarket, which is typically at least 7 days old before we even pick it up.
Yeah, and it's even it's not even ripened to its peak. They need to pick it up early, so then it makes the trip to the store, and then hopefully in our counters it will ripen it to its.
Yeah, I was just listening to a regenerative podcast talking about that whole idea that most of the food that's grown for supermarkets is picked well before it's ripe. It's questionable how many nutrients are in them. And then the taste is usually pretty sad.
Well, I'm the city girl here versus you guys are surrounded by beautiful nature. And we've done it several times, but this time I'm more invested in it. I've been around Tammy for a long time. It's all this goodness is rubbing up on me and me trying to be more self-sufficient and things like that. And then the celery from the store and bok choy, the ends of it, I have the bok choy in water and it's sprouting. And the celery, I have it in a little pot with soil and it's sprouting too.
Oh, wow.
We have herbs in a water system we got at a famous
like a hydroponic
warehouse. Yes.
Yeah.
And because it comes with a light, I have the celery under the light. So it's just fascinating what nature can do. And I know a wonderful lady who lives in an apartment, and her balcony in that tiny apartment she's done so many planters and pots.
Oh, I love
that.
that.
She has peppers, she has tomatoes, she has other things. So we are nature, but we can also, if we are not in nature, like many people, right, city apartment buildings and things like that, we can bring nature to us. And
absolutely.
I just want I don't know if you can say something about that and the benefits. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So having been a city person and now a country person, I kind of see it from both angles. And I absolutely agree with you that we are part of nature. And it's, you know, part of what's happened to us as humans is that disconnection of not really, you know, paying attention to the weather, but you can bring it indoors. I have a little tower garden that I use inside the house in the wintertime. So I'm growing cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, and broccoli of all things. A friend of mine has one and she grew broccoli and I'm like, wow, okay, I got to try that. But a sunny windowsill, or even if you don't have a sunny windowsill, get a grow light and you can grow herbs. Those are extremely satisfying to have, you know, pick fresh basil and put it in a recipe. And I think, especially for people that like to cook, it seems like a natural next step to be growing some of your food, because then you can use it and you can tell the difference. You know, it's so much more flavorful and alive, like the people talk about when they come on a tour, to eat something right off the plant and then to cook it. Like I love, even though I live on this beautiful organic farm, I have my own little backyard gardens. And so I love, you know, if I'm making, let's say, salmon, I run out and I get some fresh dill. Or, you know, I want to make massage kale and I grab it off the plant right out the door instead of, you know, picking it up down, you know, a little farther down the road.
That's amazing. I want to say hello to Melissa Cuthbert Rasmussen, my dear friend. She's watching. Tell us how you, I don't know if I've seen you posting things that you grow also. I know she loves nature too and plants. Melissa, ask questions here to Amy. This is a great opportunity. And tell us your questions and also your comments and on the things that you already do. Or
Well,
Tammy?
and I was gonna just mention, going to your Saturday markets,
Mm,
or here we have them on Wednesdays and Saturdays in case you don't grow your own.
yes, great
Stop and
idea.
support those farmers.
Yeah.
Those
Absolutely.
people who are growing those things, or like your farm. I mean, I know the farms over in the Spokane area do great this time of year with their pumpkin patches and stuff.
Mm.
And then I have another friend that does a huge pumpkin patch for all the school kids.
Oh,
And
nice.
then our daughter and son-in-law, they did veggie packs for, it's like pick up a veggie box each week for a while.
Oh, we call those
And
DSAs. Mhm.
right.
Community
And then, but I had lived in the city for 13 years, but we had huge gardens and greenhouses there and farms. But what was funny is like whenever we caught a kid like destroying plants or walking in the flower beds,
Yeah.
we would have them replant.
Ooh, perfect.
They had to learn how to replant. And when they
Beautiful.
replanted, they learned how to do that, but it also made them appreciate the plants.
Yeah.
And then they made sure none of their friends or anybody ever harmed
Oh,
that.
that's
flower.
wonderful.
But
That's really
it's
a great
those little
model.
things, because I mean, I grew up since the time I was 2, probably, planting plants and working in the
Aw.
gardens and with flowers. And we raised our daughters that way, and our grandkids, we've taught them how. And
Nice.
so, it's amazing. And like you said, it's the smell, it's the fresh produce and the fresh flowers, there's nothing quite like the smell.
Totally. And
Yeah.
speaking of smell, there's a really fun little scientific fact that I learned a bunch of years ago, that actually breathing the healthy microorganisms in the soil. So, you guys both know, I'm sure, that a healthy soil is the sort of the foundation of certified organic agriculture or regenerative agriculture. You're trying to create this healthy soil with the microorganisms that break down all the organic matter so that it can feed the plants that you have planted. And actually breathing that soil actually triggers the serotonin in our brain, that happy chemical. So, I think horticulture therapy came out of, maybe partly that awareness, but also just knowing, what it's like to be on the ground with your hands in the soil, and, that whole grounding experience of, getting the electromagnetic properties of the earth just by being in contact with it. It has very calming and health benefits.
This is so good because we're gonna have Olivia Smith here, and she has a book and everything about grounding. So
Oh,
this is a
cool.
good
Yeah, she helped do
preamble.
the movie Earthing and stuff. We won't have her on until
Oh.
January,
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
so excited. And
That's
we
awesome.
actually are affiliates for her. So we
Mhm.
are promoting her stuff on our other sites.
Oh,
So.
Fun, because I have an earthing mat that I sleep on.
Yeah.
And I try to
Oh,
go barefoot as much as
wonderful.
I can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Well, I go barefoot a lot here, and in my house, you're
Yes.
asked to take your shoes off.
Oh, us too, because otherwise it would be more filth than.
Exactly.
Amy,
Yeah.
I know you're ready, you came prepared to share some deliciousness
Oh,
with us
yes.
today.
Yes. So my famous salad dressing, this maple balsamic vinaigrette, and I have the recipe on my website. So if, people want to not have to take notes, they can go check it out there. But it's basically equal parts balsamic vinegar, and I use all organic, balsamic vinegar and olive oil. And I like the cold pressed, if you can get the organic cold pressed, and there's another piece to that I'm not thinking of at the moment. But anyway, equal parts vinegar and oil. Then I use tamari and maple. So I kind of balance the salt with the sweet, and then fresh garlic. And I actually there's some really good minced ginger that you can get in a jar already done for you if you don't want to deal with it fresh, because I find when I've used it fresh, you get more of those strings from the ginger, but the minced is really smooth. So that makes it easier, and you don't have as many clumps in your salad dressing. And so basically you're just sort of doing it to taste. I mean, for me, if I'm using, a ball jar, let's say that big, I'll probably use a couple tablespoons at least of the tamari and the maple. And I'm not even exactly sure, because I don't really measure it, because I'm constantly just tasting it to make sure, oh yeah, that's the right balance. But then probably a couple cloves of garlic and at least a tablespoon of the ginger.
Okay, if I'm not the only one and there's more viewers that don't know what tamari is.
Oh, okay. So tamari is sort of like soy sauce.
Okay,
It's made from fermented organic soybeans.
okay.
I actually like the taste of it better than soy sauce.
So
So
coconut
I use the
aminos?
gluten-free amino acid,
Yeah, coconut aminos. is
coconut
what I use.
aminos.
Do you think that will?
That might be a good swap. I think it has a more distinct taste though that could be noticeable. So you could try it and
Okay.
see if you're used to eating that anyway, you probably wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
But if you're not used to it, it might kind of change the flavor a little bit.
Is there a specific salad that you like to eat it with? Or
Oh gosh, I love romaine hearts.
Okay.
We just started doing romaine hearts in the stand because we had so much romaine. And then, I mean, I throw everything in it. Tomatoes, celery, carrots. We put pumpkin seeds. We put a little bit of raisins. If I can get watercress, I throw watercress in because that's one of the most nutritious greens. Yeah, I mean, you can put whatever you like. Oh, cucumber, definitely cucumber.
Yummy. So
Yeah.
good.
Sounds yummy, actually.
It's pretty
Now
good.
you have your own maple syrup though, correct?
We do. Yes, Dave is a 4th generation maple producer. So we are very fortunate to have that amazing sweetener.
So I have never, I mean, I've seen some pictures of it done, but that is one thing I've never, because we
Oh,
don't.
I actually have a little video that I created for the maple that I can send you if you
Oh,
want to put it
perfect.
below
We'll put it
here. People can
online
watch.
on
Yeah.
our site.
Yeah, I'll
That'd
just
be
pop it on
perfect.
there. Yeah, it's kind of a fun little informational video, and you'll see Dave out in the woods, drilling a tap into the tree or drilling a hole for the tap into the tree. And then, I haven't just sprouted ears. I have a little friend with me.
Oh,
Aw.
no. This is
Yeah.
why we like this, just as organic, speaking of organic and
Yes,
authentic as
exactly.
it comes.
She
I had to
insisted
put
upon sitting.
I had to put myself on mute several times because my dog was barking.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
I,
got it.
so prevention, people are more proactive
Yes.
when there's a bad news about their health, etc. And that's when it gets their attention and they
Right.
invest time and money and resources to change their lifestyle. So I think Amy's here helping us understand, and Tammy and myself, go and walk in nature. And now this is a deeper level, and this is a little bit more serious, and it has to do with your lifestyle. And it's about eating the food that you put in your mouth. It's extremely important. I'm seeing more of a movement, I mean, which is great on
Yes.
people and reels, short reels on Facebook and TikTok and things like that, which is amazing. But there's always more we can do. There's always better things we can do. So what are some practical tips, Amy, for people that are busy, for people,
Right.
adjustments or tips or something they can, like me, I was mentioning the hydroponic. We
Yep.
got a system from a famous warehouse around, and it's just very easy to take care of. And like you said about cooking, I love to cook. That's why I put my little celery butt thing to
Yeah.
see if it sprouts in soil and things like that. But I love all those roots and spices and herbs. So that's
Yes.
been an easy way for me to start.
Yeah.
So what are other tips that you
Yeah.
suggest?
So I think some very important things are getting probiotics into our system, because gut health has so much to do with our overall health. And there's that gut brain connection. So that can be in the form of sauerkraut or kimchi, or I don't know that yogurt is as good a choice because of all the sugar in it. There's kombucha. If people like kombucha, there's some good brands of kombucha, or make it yourself. It's actually not that hard. So that's one thing that I try to do on a daily basis. If people are really lacking time, I think a great thing to do is on the weekend, maybe make up a bunch of food and then freeze it. So then you can just heat it up during the week. Don't do it in the microwave, ideally.
Right.
Microwaves, I believe alter the way that food, well, certainly you can tell when something's been microwaved if it's cold on the inside and hot on the outside. So I try to avoid that when I can. Eating fresh salads is really important. One other cool thing that I've seen people do that's been great is overnight oats. If you soak the oats like in coconut milk and add maybe some nuts and seeds and dates and raisins, then you can have that ready first thing in the morning. You don't even have to cook it. You know, it's already absorbed all that good moisture from the coconut milk. I make smoothies when I don't have a lot of time, and I
Right.
throw in, you know, the collagen powder or, you know, one of the greens powders that I like, as well as some fruit that I've saved from the season in the freezer. Those are some of the things that people can consider. And I
And
think, yeah, just thinking about even beyond what food you're eating, what are you cooking it in? Are you cooking stuff in a Teflon pan? That's not great because that's plastic and it's going to eventually breaks down and gets into our food. What are you storing things in? Is it Tupperware or is it maybe glass containers that, you know, aren't going to leach any plastic? So there's a whole bunch of different things. And these are the kinds of things that I'm actually talking about in a new mentorship program that I'm launching in November. It's 12 weeks to a less toxic, more earth-friendly, healthier you.
yay,
They cover the
wonderful.
gamut of these kinds of topics, including all the household products and, you know, what to avoid and why and what you can use instead, and holistic lifestyle strategies. So I think you, Lori, mentioned something earlier about sort of the way our system or healthcare system works. You know, we typically are told we need drugs and, you know, there's not a lot of focus on prevention. It's kind of like once you've gotten diagnosed with something, then, you know, if you go through a Western medicine process, they're going to give you different drugs and procedures that, you know, you may not want. And if you can avoid that by doing all of these types of things, eating really good, you know, nutrient dense organic food, using household products that don't contribute toxins into your environment and into your body, and then using herbs, medicinal herbs, or medicinal mushrooms or homeopathy. There's all kinds of different tried and true things that people have been using, like me, for many, many years.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's like those first things, you know, it's like when people have a friend of mine, they had a colds or the flu, and I'm like, well, open your windows first,
I
you know.
love sleeping with a little
A lot
prep.
of times people don't realize, you know, opening the windows of fresh air can kill more germs off than people realize.
Yeah.
so
Ooh,
true.
speaking of that, I just saw this really cool thing on YouTube that a friend of mine sent me about how to create your own air filter for under $100. You get, you know, a box fan, like a square fan, and then 4 different air filters that you would normally put in an HVAC system. And I think if it's 13 microns or more, that's the best. And you configure it like a box, and you put a piece of cardboard on the bottom, and then the filters are on the 4 sides, and then the fan goes on top. The fan is facing up, you know, where the air blows out. And that actually draws the air through all those different fans, and it filters out a ton of different things that, you know, inevitably will get into our home, whether it's, you know, viruses, mold, bacteria, that sort of thing, in addition to other stuff, dust and hair and whatnot. So that I'm actually going to make one of those because, you know, we have to close up our windows and doors just because it's winter here, coming soon. So we want to keep that air flow and cleaning the air. But I also have the window cracked open by my bed.
I'm the same way. I like that
I love
fresh
that
air.
cool, fresh air.
Even if it's freezing out, I'll open it for an hour or
Yes.
something just to let that fresh air in. So
Well, that's really important just to kind of get that air exchange, because I think part of what's happened for us humans is that we've become more energy efficient in our homes. So we're sealing things tighter, and you know, that means that we're not getting fresh air infiltrated. Like if we have a lot of leaks, then fresh air is going to leak in. But if we don't have those and it's really tight, and especially if we're using, you know, products that have a lot of chemicals in them, that's not an ideal situation since we spent the majority of our time indoors.
So one thing I also do, I think this is like my little secret that I don't want to tell, but now
But
here
you are
I
going
am.
to.
what is it?
Here I am getting ready to do so, because whenever I have offered it to a person or two, it's been like twice they totally rejected, and they're like, that's you, you're crazy.
Okay, tell me.
I'm gonna go away.
Now I'm intrigued.
So it's cloves.
Oh,
breath fresheners.
okay.
They're so sugary. They
Oh,
can be
yes.
toxic. And
Yes.
all I do every time, if I'm gonna leave, if I'm gonna be in a situation when I know I'm gonna be close to somebody and I'm kind of
Yeah.
conscious about that, and it has so many health benefits. I just
Wow.
have cloves in my pocket, and that's
You
what I
just
chew
chew on
on.
them.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's a great idea. I like that.
Oh,
I'm almost getting ready to change a little bit or swap between cloves and the star anise.
Oh,
I don't.
star anise, yes.
Do you
And
know
that
what?
has a licorice type of flavor, does it?
Yes, it
Okay.
does, and it's very refreshing. It's super healthy. Cloves are great for your teeth, for your
Yeah.
gut, everything. And I don't know. I don't know if
A great
anyone
idea.
out there wants to. But they're very strong. They're very potent. But the
Yes.
more I don't feel it anymore. Like I'm like, oh, I need to freshen up my
You
breath.
know,
Let me
I
chew on
remember
it.
that I remember clove oil has been used for babies that are teething.
Okay.
Has a numbing impact on the gums. Do
It
you find it
stings.
numbs
It
your
can
tongue?
sting. So hopefully, they're kind of diluting it a little bit. But
Right.
yes, and cloves are great for tooth aches and issues like that.
Yeah.
So
That's
there,
great.
well, and in my experiences, I've always used health, natural stuff like oregano oil and
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really good.
different, like you said, the different vitamins and herbs. That's what I rely on for
Yes,
life.
me too. It's my
Yeah.
go-to. And I'm happy to say that I don't have to take any pharmaceuticals. Not that
Mhm.
I have any judgment about somebody that does, because some people really need them. But if
Right.
I can stay out of the doctor's office and keep myself healthy and use these more old-fashioned remedies,
Well,
I guess you could say, then I'd rather do that.
my husband was diagnosed with like 3C, categories of cancer have categories within themselves, right? So it was almost stage 4 cancer.
Oh my,
And oncologist of everybody, chemo, this and that, that's it.
yeah.
Hey, any change of diet, any change of this, that, no, he can continue living life. Great. So like you, no judgment, but I wanted something more for my husband, and he wasn't very health conscious at the time. And then the surgeon, so the oncologist and then surgeon wanted
Yep.
to cut him open to get the egg, like chicken egg hen, size tumor he had, very close to his lymph node, and it was in his colorectum. And anyways, too many details here, but he did both treatments. They're regular, typical treatment and radiation. So kudos to that. And yes, like you, I agree that it has its place. But
Yes.
also that was complemented, and the regular doctors don't know this.
Yes.
Never knew, that never found out, we never told. He did also ozone therapy, vitamin C infusions.
Wow.
And every time he would go to chemotherapy, they would prescribe medications for nausea, right? He
Right.
never used them. Every time he would go, do you need a refill? Do you need a refill? He's like, never, because he never even used the first one, because I would always put ginger essential oil in his belly button,
Oh, how wonderful.
or I would infuse it.
Yeah.
Infuse it, and then I used tons of frankincense too, specifically in the area where his tumor was.
Wow,
Anyway,
good for you.
it's just
Awesome.
amazing what nature
And he's
can
well
do.
now?
He is well right now. Yeah,
Yay,
that was
that's awesome.
2017. He is doing amazing.
Good, good, good.
And
Oh,
he
that's
didn't need the
fantastic.
surgery. He didn't need the
Oh,
surgery.
good.
To this day, the doctors are still scratching their head. They're like,
I
you're gonna
bet.
go down in the books because we don't know what
Yep.
happened here.
Yep.
We
Well, that
do.
is fabulous.
But
It
God's
was
will,
Lori.
right?
Awesome.
God's will and mercy, but
Lori
Yeah.
therapy.
well, we sure love this. Tammy and I are passionate about this stuff, and Amy, we love that you are too.
Yes.
Congratulations for the
Thanks for
work you're
being
doing.
here. We've learned so much. And of course, if anybody has any questions, reach out and ask. We'll share the recipes. I'll share the link here. And make sure that you not just like us, but love us and share. Share this video, share pictures on our site. If you grow something yourself, be sure to share photos, or if you're spending time taking a walk in nature, we love seeing those different photos. Our next guest, she's been starting to share already her pictures of her safari in Australia.
Yes.
So I love that. So
So whether it is plants, that things that you're eating, hikes, whatever it is you're doing, we like to hear from you. And Amy, thanks for being here.
Oh,
We
my
wish
pleasure.
you all the best on that course you're having, the 12
Thank
weeks to amazingness is what I'm gonna call it.
Thank you.
So congratulations on putting that together. We
and if you're
definitely need
in
that.
Vermont, go and visit Amy.
Yeah,
Yes.
next summer for sure.
And this, yeah.
Very good. Thank you. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.